Hi everyone, I'm Kelly from Craftandacuppa, and today I'm going to do a full length tutorial on a solid Hexi cardi. I made one for my daughter, so this is what it looks like. So in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to keep your sleeves from going really wide. If you don't like the really wide sleeves, I've got you covered on this. So I'll show you how to do that without having to make loads of decreases in the sleeve. So I'll show you that. And I'm also going to show you how to add buttons. So yeah, so just to start, the pattern will be in US terms. I will provide all the measurements that you need to work towards in the written description, and it is going to cover kids and adults, all of them in one tutorial. So yeah, I think that's about it. It's made to measure, so you can use any yarn and hook that you wish. So let's crack on, shall we? Just before we start, I want to go over a couple of things that you're going to need for this tutorial. Yarn, obviously. I have gone for some DK yarn, and I'm going to mix it up with this lovely, beautiful Papatya Yarn Cake. You're going to need a hook to match your yarn. I've gone for 5mm, but it's all personal preference. Some scissors, a tape measure, stitch markers, and a little needle for weaving in your ends. And if I've forgotten anything else, obviously I'll let you know along the way. So let's crack on. Okay, let's get started with our first hexagon. So we are going to create a slip knot and attach that to your hook. Now, actually, if you prefer, you can do a magic circle or you can do a chain. I like to do a chain. If you want to do a magic circle, that is absolutely fine. It's all personal preference. You don't have to follow me completely. I'm just showing you a rough guide of how to do it, and then you can add your own adjustments and fancy bits or whatever you want to add on to it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to chain 6. Then I'm going to come back to my first chain and put my hook through it and make a slip stitch through there to create this little loop, or say a little loop. It's more like a circle. As you can see, you can just pull it apart, and we're going to be working into the centre of this. So when I'm working, because I've done a chain, I'm going to work over my tail end as well, so that when I come to the end of this row or this round, I can pull my tail end and it will close this circle in the centre. So we're going to chain 3, and that classes as your first double crochet, and then we're going to put 2 double crochets back into this centre circle. There's 1. I'm making sure that I'm crocheting over my tail end. What we're going to do now is chain 2 and then put 3 double crochets back into this circle, and I'm still crocheting over my tail end. I'll be doing that all the way through this round. Oh, more fingers and thumbs. I'm always all fingers and thumbs on the first round. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to chain 2 and put 3 more doubles back into this centre. 1, 2, 3. Now it looks like a granny square, kind of what we're going for round 1. It's like a granny, well, not a granny square, like a granny hexagon type shape. So we're going to need 6 sets of clusters going into this circle, and so far I have done 3. 1, 2, 3. So I need to chain 2 again and put 3 more doubles in here. That will give me 4 sets of clusters. So I'm going to chain 2 again, put 3 more doubles into the centre. That's going to give me 5 sets of clusters. I've got to do it one more time to reach 6. So I'm going to chain 2 again, put 3 doubles back into that centre. Getting all tied up. 1, 2, 3. Right, I'm now going to go and just double check that I have got 6 clusters here before I join my round together. So obviously the first one was a chain 3. That classes as your first double. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 sets of 3 double crochets, all with chain 2s in between them. So just to end this round, we're going to chain 2. Oh, if I can pick up my yarn. Chain 2, and then you're going to join it to the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the row, or the round, sorry, I keep saying row. So just join it with a slip stitch. And that is round 1. Heck, round 1. Okay, round 2. I am sticking with the same colour because I've got a yarn cake on the go at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my work after every round because it's going to help keep the seam in one of the corner chain spaces. And it also stops your stitches from leaning as well. So what we're going to do, if you decide you want to change colour, then you can fasten off and then turn your work and start in any corner chain space. Just join your work with a slip stitch in any corner chain space. But because I'm staying with the same colour, I am going to turn my work around and I'm going to put a slip stitch back into this chain space right before where my hook is. So I'm going to slip stitch in there, and now we're ready to start round 2. So for round 2, we are now working as a solid hexi. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. That's going to be your first double. And then you're going to put 1 double crochet back into this corner chain space. And now you've got 3 stitches here until you reach your next corner chain space. So you're just going to put 1 double crochet in each of these 3 stitches. And then that brings you to the next corner. So in the next corner, you're going to put 2 double crochets. And then you're going to chain 2. And then you're going to put 2 double crochets back into the same corner. And then we're just going to keep repeating what we've done. We've now got 3 stitches in front of us. So we're going to put 1 double crochet in each of these 3 stitches. And then that brings us to the next corner. So the next corner, again, you're going to put 2 double crochets. Chain 2, and then 2 more double crochets back into that corner chain space. And then just keep repeating that. So now we're back to our stitches. We're going to put 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. And then we're back to a corner, so we're going to put 2 double crochets in the corner, chain 2, 2 double crochets back into the same corner. Then we've got our 3 stitches again, so we're going to put 1 double in each of these 3 stitches. That brings me to the next corner. So that's 2 double crochets in the corner chain space, chain 2, 2 double crochets back into the same corner chain space, and then 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. Back to another corner, 2 double crochets in the corner, chain 2, 2 double crochets back into that corner, and now we're coming to the end. So we've got our last 3 stitches, and then we've got the corner where we started, which currently has a chain 3 and a double crochet in it. So we're going to put 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches, have I gone through that all right? Hang on, I didn't pick up both my loops there. And then the last stitch is always a little bit like, oh, it may be a little tricky to push it through, but make sure you get it in there. So now I'm on my last corner, which has already got a chain 3 and a double crochet in it. So I'm going to put 2 double crochets back into this final corner, 2 double crochets and then a chain 2. And then we are going to find the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round, and we're going to put a slip stitch in it, and that's going to join the round together. Ooh, get in there. And that is round 2. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to come back to my centre, and I'm going to pull this tight, like so. And you'll notice that your hexagon is not sitting flat. That's exactly how it needs to be. So I'm going to fasten off for this one, I think, and add in a bit of my yellow colour, because it's probably going to be easier to see. To be fair, I didn't really think about this dark purple. I mean, it's not that dark, but yeah, it's not that dark. But what I'm going to do is I am going to fasten off, and because I'm changing colours throughout my cardigan, I am going to repeat this exact same process and make my second hexagon, because the Hexi Cardis are made up using 2 hexagons. So we need one and I need another one, and I'm going to make both of them at the same time because I'm changing my colours. If you're just using one colour, well then you're best off just to keep going with the one colour. I mean the one hexi at a time, because otherwise you're going to be fastening off and have unnecessary ends. But I like to do both my hexis at the same time, weave my ends in as I go, and yeah, that's about it really. And then especially if you're using scraps, if you're doing both of them at the same time, you can look in your scrap box and go, yeah, I've got enough for that, yeah, I've got enough for both of them, and blah, 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 blah. So I am literally just going to pause the video quickly, and when I come back here, I'm going to have 2 of these. So I'll meet you back here in a second. Okay, so I now have both of my hexagons on the go at the same time. I love doing it this way because I always feel like it feels quicker. I don't know why, it just does. I think because you're working on both of them at the same time, it just always feels a bit quicker. So, round 3. I am actually going to change my colour, but I'm going to show you again what to do if you're sticking with the same colour. So if you are not fastening off and you're staying with the same colour, what you're going to do is you are going to turn your work, come back to this chain space and put a slip stitch in it. And you are now ready for round 3. But I'm not doing that, I'm going to change my colour. So I'm just going to undo that carefully without pulling any stitches out. I'm just going to fasten off. Put a little knot in it to secure it. Oh, my belly's rumbling. Why does it always do this when I'm recording? I hope you didn't hear that. Let's get my new colour. My favourite colour. I love mustard and yellows. So I'm going to turn my work to keep my stitches consistent. I'm just going to pick any corner. Doesn't matter, you don't have to go in the same corner. You can go in any corner that you wish. But do you know what? I think I actually am going to go in the same corner. Don't know why, just think I am. So I'm going to join in my yarn, my new colour, with a slip stitch. Okay, so exactly the same as what we've just done for round 2. We're going to chain 3 and put 1 more double crochet back into your corner chain space. Now we've got all our double crochet stitches from the previous row. We're going to place 1 double in each of these stitches until you get to the next corner chain space. There should be 7 double crochets that you've just gone into there. Right, I'm at my corner. So in every single corner, we are always going to be placing 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. We're now back to our stitches. Should be 7 stitches here. You're going to put 1 double crochet in each of these 7 stitches. Back to my corner. So what goes in there, do you remember? 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets back into that corner. And then, see, it's nice and easy. We're just going to be repeating this. Oh, look at those colours. Oh, they look amazing. 2 double crochet, 2 double, what? No, just ignore what I just said there. 1 double crochet in the next 7 stitches. Nearly got it wrong. Sometimes I do say things wrong. I don't pick up on it until like I'm editing the video and I'm like, oh no, said the wrong thing. So apologies if I do say things a bit wrong. You got to think to yourself, nah, she's got that wrong, said that wrong. Never mind, I know what she meant. Right, back to my corner. So that's 2 doubles in the corner and a chain 2. And then 2 more doubles back into the corner. And then 1 double crochet in the next 7 stitches. And this is basically all we're going to be doing to build our hexagons up. So I'm back to my corner. There's 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. So I'm going to pause the video because I'm pretty certain you've got it from here at the minute. Obviously a double crochet in all of the stitches and then 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets in each corner. And I'll come back to you when we get to the final corner. Okay, so I'm right at my final corner, which has already got chain 3 and double crochet from the beginning of the round. So I'm just going to put 2 double crochets back into that final corner. And then a chain 2. Ooh. And then I'm going to put my hook through the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round. And make a slip stitch to join the round together. So yes, I am going to fasten off and change my colour for the next round. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, off camera, add my round onto my second hexie. So I will meet you back here when I've done that. Okay, so I've now got both round 3s on both hexagons. I'm also just going to show you something as well quickly. I've already started my weaving in process because I get freaked out when there's too many ends. I'm just like, no, no, no. So I like to weave as I go. controversial, maybe, or is non-weaving controversial? Anyway, what I do is the side with my centre tail from the very beginning, from round 1, I leave that, I never weave it in, and I class this side as the wrong side of my cardi. So I am now going to weave in all my ends on this side only, and I'm going to keep that one in the centre, and that will be the last end that I weave in. Or not, it could easily stay there for all eternity because I often forget, but I meant to weave that in right at the end. I've already started the process and weaved in one end on this side like a good girl. So if you weave as you go, it's not as bad. Okay, next round, round 4 we're at, aren't we? I'm going to change my colour again. So just to show you one more time, if you're sticking with the same colour, you are just going to turn your work and slip stitch back into that chain space, and then you're ready for round 4. But I'm not doing that. I'm going to change my colour, so I'm going to fasten off quick. Give myself another end to weave in, yippee doo dah. And then I'm going to turn my work and attach my new yarn in any corner. I seem to be going for the ones where I've just been, but you can use any corner that you wish. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I've got my new yarn, still on this colour of my yarn cake. I'm going to be here for a while, I think, to be fair. So we're just going to keep doing what we have been doing, nice and easy. If you want to keep track of how many stitches you're supposed to be going in, with every round, each side will gain 4 extra stitches. So to begin with, we went in the first 3 stitches, then we went in the next 7 stitches, and now you should have 11 stitches. Okay, so each side will increase by 4 with each round that you do, if you want to keep track of your stitch count, or if you're like me, real bad at counting, just kind of blag it, then blag it, it's fine. There is nothing wrong with a little bit of blagging in crochet. So I'm just going to attach my new yarn in the corner with a slip stitch. I'm just going to do a couple of sides, maybe 1 or 2, because I think you know what you're doing. So we're just going to chain 3, put 1 more double crochet back into that corner. I think I'm going to work up to the next corner and then leave you on your merry way for a bit. So 1 double crochet in the next 11 stitches. Just basically put a double crochet in every single stitch. If you want to count, with each round, each side goes up 4 stitches. I better have got that right, otherwise I'm going to be like, oh no. It should be right. Shouldn't doubt myself. So just do 1 more corner with you. I'm sure you know what you're doing though. 2 double crochets. Chain 2, 2 double crochets back into your corner. And you're just going to keep putting double crochets in all the stitches, 2 double crochets, chain 2 in all the corners. I'm going to build my hexagons up a little bit more, and I'm going to come back to you and show you how we're going to fold them when it gets a bit more rounds added to it. I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now, it's gone. So yeah, when it gets a bit bigger, I'm going to come straight back here and show you how to fold it, and then talk about the sleeve, the width of the sleeve, and what we're going to be doing with that. So I'll meet you back here in a little while. Remember to keep turning your work after every round as well. Keep it looking consistent. Keep that seam in the middle in the 1 chain space. So I'll see you back here when your hexagons are a bit bigger. Okay, I have added a few more rounds onto both of my hexagons, and as you can see, I cannot lay them out flat, and that is exactly how they're supposed to be, all bunched up like this. So what I'm going to show you now is how to fold the hexagons. So where are we? Literally, you're going to take 1 straight edge, you're just going to pinch it together, and then we're going to turn it round a bit and just run our fingers along this edge here and pinch that bit together. I kind of just give it a little bit of a shake out like that. And that is how you're going to fold your hexagons. And as you can see, it's now forming half of your cardigan. It's pretty cool, isn't it? Do it again on the other side. Just grabbing any edge at the moment, folding that edge in half, and then running my fingers along the long edge, and then just shaking it out a bit, flattening it out. Obviously this one will need to go in the opposite direction. Look at that. Looks like you feel a little baby at the minute. It's so cute. So how big do you need to make your hexagons? This is where you will now need to check in the written description of the video. Now, if you're using your phone, right now, as it stands, you need to click on the title of the video and it will bring up the written description. Now, I don't know how long that's going to work for because it does change quite often. And then I'll say how you do it in one video and the next time it's different. But right now, if you on your phone, you click on the title of the video and that will bring up the written description. And then you go to like the bottom right hand corner and click on more and it will bring up the whole of the description. And in there you will find the measurements. Now the first measurement you're going to need is the width of half a hexagon. Now I'm making a size small, so my width of half a hexagon needs to be 20.5 centimetres or close to it, because I might not get that exact measurement, but as long as I'm close to it. So I'm going to show you how to measure, or that measurement basically. So I'm just going to like ruffle that up again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one edge and I'm just going to flatten it out. Just like that. And I'm going to get my tape measure. I'm going to go from the centre and just measure out to the edge. We're not going to go diagonal. We're going to go to the centre of the edge, okay? I know I'm definitely not at 20.5 at the moment. So I'm about 10 centimetres, just a little bit over 10 centimetres. So I need to keep working my hexagon until I reach 20.5 centimetres. Now just say I get close to that measurement and I think I don't want my sleeve to be any wider than what it is right now. Let me just fold this back up again and show you. So you might fold it and look at it and think, that sleeve's getting a bit wide, I don't want it to go no wider. Then you need to stop working and follow the next section of this video. If you want a wide sleeve and you're fine with that and you're happy with that, you need to just keep working your hexagon all the way around until you reach your measurement for half the, the width of half a hexagon. But if you want your sleeve to be a bit more thinner than the rest of the hexagon, then you need to move on to the next section. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to keep working my hexagon until I'm happy with my sleeve width, and then I'm going to show you how to keep adding width to the hexagon but not on the sleeve, okay? So I will show you that in the next bit of the video. So I've been adding more rounds to my hexagons and I feel that I don't want my sleeves to get any wider. So when I fold it, I've just had a look. I even used some stitch markers down this side just to pull it up over my arm and see what I thought. And yeah, I'm happy with my sleeve width staying like this. But when I measure my hexagons, I need to get to roughly 20.5 centimetres for a size small. And I'm not there just yet, I'm close. So if I just flatten out one side like that, get my tape measure and go from the centre out to the edge. I'm about 18, 19 centimetres, so I haven't got that much more to do, to be fair. I could have really ended it one round less, but I decided that I wanted to add in a rogue blue colour just to finish it off and make it look a bit even. because my variegated yarn changed colour on here and it didn't on here, and I was like, oh, I don't want to join it like that, so I've added an extra round. So really I could have stopped a round before, but I ended up adding this blue, and I'm so pleased I did because it looks pretty cool, doesn't it? So if you decide that you want your sleeve width to stay where it is, but you still need to add more rounds to your hexagon to get to your finished width, what we're going to do is we're going to fold the hexagons. So just fold one side in half and run your fingers along this edge and shake it out. So there's one. I'm going to do exactly the same with the other. I've folded mine right sides facing out because I've been weaving all my ends in, and I left this little one in the middle. So I know that this is the wrong side where all my ends have been weaved in, and this is the right side. So I'm going to do the same with this one. So there's my centre tail. So this is the wrong side. So I'm going to sandwich that together like this. Bonk. And then run my hands down one side, shake it out. I've got to flip it round because this one's for the opposite side. There we go. It's a bit hard to fit them both in, but we're just about there. Right, so what I'm going to do now is get my stitch markers. And I'm going to put my first stitch marker in the two bottom corners that will form the bottom part of my sleeve so far. So I'm going to go through the top one and the back one and join that together. So in my head I know, don't touch any of this bit. We're not going to touch any of this bit right here when we're adding extra rounds to get to the proper width. Now on this side, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have two stitch markers. I'm going to put one in the top piece in the corner. I'm just going to go through that bit only, and then I'm going to put one in the bottom piece through the top corner, like so. I'm going to do the exact same thing for this side. So I need 3 more stitch markers. I think that's all I've got in here. I need to get myself some more stitch markers. I like the big ones, I do. Okay, so we're going to go in this bottom corner here, and we're going to go through both pieces. So that joins that together like that. And in my head, I just think, I'm not using that bit. I'm not going to be crocheting on that bit. That bit's joined together. You don't have to do it like this, but it's just how I do it. And then last two, going to go in the top bit here in the corner, and then the bottom piece here in this corner. And now we're ready to start adding some more width. So what I'm going to do is I am going to move this side just out of the way, just place it out of the way because we're going to work on one side at a time. So just to give you an image of what we're doing before I zoom in, we're going to be working rows from this corner all the way down. It's going to come to this corner. We're going to come all the way across here to this corner, and we're going to come all the way back up to this stitch marker on the back, and we're going to keep adding rows all the way back and forth until you reach, when you spread it out and measure it from here to here, that you're going to reach your width of for the finished width of half a hexagon. Okay, so that is how we're going to do it. I always put that one together because, I don't know, it just makes me feel like, yes, we're not working on that side, but we are going to be working all the way down here, round here, and back up again. So I'm going to zoom in now so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm at the top here with my 2 pieces. This part over here is the part that I joined for the bottom of the sleeve, so we don't need to worry about that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep following how I've turned after every round. So I'm going to be working with my stitches on the wrong side. At the minute, they're right side facing. So I need to find the wrong side, which is this side. So I'm going to be starting, oh, my stitch marker isn't done up, look. I'm going to be starting from here and working all the way down, all the way around, and all the way back up to here. So let me get my yarn. Just twisted my work around because obviously I'm going left to right. Don't even know my lefts and my rights. Never have done. Probably never will. I'm like nearly 39, so yeah. I can't see that there's much hope there, really, is there? Let's be honest. If I don't know them by now, I probably never will. So I'm just going to get my yarn. I'm going to go in that top corner with my stitch marker, and my stitches are wrong side facing. And I'm just going to join my yarn in the corner with a slip stitch. And I'm going to chain 3, and that classes as my first double crochet. And that's all I'm doing in that corner. It's just 1 double crochet. Obviously it's a chain 3, but it's classing as a double. So I'm just going to go now in every single stitch with double crochet, just like we have been doing. Every single stitch with a double crochet. And I'll meet you when you get to the next corner. Although you know what you're doing because you've just made a big massive one, but even still. So I've done my first edge, just going down 1 bit, and I'm now at my corner. So at this corner, you're just going to do what you have been doing. 2 double crochets. Oh, what just happened there? Oh, 2 double crochets. Chain 2, 2 double crochets back into the corner. And then continue adding double crochets in every single stitch. You come to another corner and you're going to do the same there. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. And then come all the way up to your final stitch marker. Yep, so I have now gone over my other corner, come all the way down the edge, and I'm now at the opposite stitch marker. So in this corner, you're just going to place 1 double crochet. And that's it. Now, if you're sticking with the same colour and you need to add another round to keep working towards your finished width, all you're going to do is chain 3, turn your work, and then you're not going to go in the base of the chain 3 because that's classed as your first double crochet. You're going to go in the next stitch along and just put double crochets in every single stitch until you get all the way around. Just undo that because I'm fastening off here. Ooh. And then come all the way back down to your corner where you're going to put 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets. Come all the way back down to the other corner where you're going to put again 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets, and then that will bring you all the way back to where the stitch marker is. And you'll just keep repeating that all the way around until you reach the finished width of half a hexagon. Now, when you're measuring, make sure that you're measuring where you've just added your new rows. I was going to call them rounds then, but they're rows, aren't they? Let me just zoom out a little bit. So this is where I've just added mine, the mustard colour. I've still got this bit, where are we? I've still got this bit folded up here, which is my sleeve. So no extra rounds got added on there, or stitches, no extra stitches got added on there. So what am I at? Let's have a look. I need to get to 20.5 roughly. I'm at 20. So, I mean, it's such a small number. I think I might add 1 more row, actually. It's a row now, isn't it? I'm going to do 1 more row. Why not? Hey, why not? So I'm going to fasten off. Where's my scissors? They're here. I've got them. I'm fastening off. You can change colour however you wish, by the way. I'm just going to fasten off and do it with a slip stitch. Where is my other colour? I don't even know. This is where I'm at with my first yarn cake. Not much left on there, is there? I can't even, let me get it. Get that on there. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to add one more row for me. You might have to add a few more, it doesn't matter. Literally just going to be putting double crochets in every single stitch. I need to turn my work around, so I'm working back on the opposite way. I'm just going to attach my stitch with my yarn, with a slip stitch. If I can find my bit of yarn, there it is. And then chain 3, and then put a double crochet in every single stitch. And then, like I said, you've got 2 corners that you're going to reach, where you put your 2 doubles, chain 2, 2 doubles. I'm just going to keep going until I get to the edge where the other stitch marker is. Okay, so I am right at the end of my second row. So I've got 1 double crochet left to go into here, and then the chain 3 from the beginning of the row. So I'm going to put 1 double crochet in the double crochet stitch, and my final double crochet is going to go in the top of the chain 3. And that is my second row added. I actually don't need to add any more, so I'm going to fasten off. But you need to keep adding yours until you reach the finished width of half a hexagon. So where are we? If I fold it back to where it was, so that was my sleeve area. So that stayed the same. My sleeve width has not got any bigger at all. I have just added rounds down the front and the back and the bottom, basically. So there we are. I've now got to do the exact same thing to the opposite panel. It's going to be the exact same procedure, but I'm going to be starting on my back piece rather than my front piece because it's the opposite way round. So I'll meet you back here when you've reached your finished width of half a hexagon. And then we're going to be seaming it together. So yes, exciting! Okay, so I have added extra width and a bit of length as well. Can't quite see that because I can't quite fit it in very well, but my sleeves have stayed the same. I've still got all my little stitch markers in. I'm just going to take out these ones because we don't need these ones in here anymore. Just get rid of them. So now what we're going to be doing is seaming it together. Oh, but just each hexagon separately at the moment. We are going to do a seam from here to here, and then the same on this side. Just down there, and that is it. Now you can seam your cardi however you wish. Whatever seam you want to use is completely up to you. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a seam that I have to do on the right side of my cardi. Now if you want your seam to be on the inside, then you're just going to have to turn them out so that you've got your wrong side facing outwards. Just like that, just give it a little flip. If you did what I did and you've got your centre tail there, then that is the wrong side of your fabric, so to speak. But I'm not doing that, I'm doing mine on the right side, so I need to flip it back again. Just like so, give it a little shake out. So I'm going to put this one to one side, and I'm going to work on this one first. I'm actually going to flip this because I'm going to start from the edge on each one. So it really doesn't actually matter too much, but I'm going to be using a needle with mine, and I'm going to seam it with a needle. So you can follow along with what I'm doing, or you can do your own seam. It doesn't matter at all. However you want to finish it is completely up to you. Okay, because I'm using my needle, I've just cut a long piece of yarn. Just kind of guessed it. Probably did it too big, but it's better to have too much than not enough. I'm just going to thread my needle. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through the inside loops on each side. So I'm going to like go in that one on that side and just that one on that side. Just the inside loops only. I'm going to remove my little stitch marker now because it's going to probably feel like it's getting in the way. So coming right up to this first side, I'm going to go through like the second chain, I think, is where I'm going to make my first entrance point. Just before the first stitch, I'm going to go through, if we call it the centre loop, because I'm not going to go through both loops. I want to go through the centre loop on each side. I'm going to pull that through and give myself a bit of a tail at the end so I can secure it nicely. Then I'm going to come to my next bit and I'm going to go through the chain on this side. I'm going to come up through the bottom and go through the centre loop. Just pull that kind of tightish. Now I'm going to come to the next stitch along, well, the first stitch really, and I'm going to go through the centre loop, okay? Not both loops, not going through two, we're just going through one. So I'm going to pull that through. And then I'm going to come to the opposite side, find the next stitch, which is this one, and then I'm going to come up through the centre of that stitch. Hang on, I've not quite come up through that one properly. There we go. And then pull that through. Next stitch, through the centre. Back stitch, through the centre. And just keep doing that all the way down. And if you're feeling brave, you can go through both at the same time like that, but I like to do it one at a time, so I know I'm not picking up a random bit of yarn from somewhere else and bit through there and come to the other side, which is this one here. Oh, I'm hitting my arm onto things, which is great. So yeah, just keep repeating through the centre stitch only. Doesn't help that I've made a really long bit of yarn. I cut a really long bit of yarn and it does get a bit annoying. Bit awkward because I'm pulling it through, loads of it. But like I say, it's better to have too much than not enough. So yeah, keep doing that until we get to our little DC bars, I'm going to call them, double crochet bars at the end here. I'll meet you back here when we've done all this bit. I've now done all of my stitches and I've got the double crochet bars left to go. Just to show you what it looks like, this seam. It looks like this. Now, it's a bit hard to see on the camera, I know, but I just really like this little detail of it. It's very subtle. It's nice and flat, but I like the way it looks. So yeah, I am happy with that seam. I don't know if I can get it any closer without it getting blurry. But yeah, that's what it looks like. So I've got to do my double crochet bars. I'm just going to do what I've just been doing basically, but going into, like, it's the chains, isn't it? So you just got to find the inside loop of the chains, the center loop of the chains. So I'm going to go through that one. I'm going to pick up that one at the same time while I'm here. Like so. And I'm going to go through, where are we? Let's have a look. That one. And that one. Make sure I get it through that loop. Gotta be honest, I don't quite know how this is going to look. So we're doing it together. I think it's going to be all right. I feel like it might be a bit of a hidden seam, because I'm going in the inside loops. I'm making sure that I'm picking up the inside of it, not the outside. So I'm hoping it's going to be hidden, because obviously this is a different colour, isn't it? Just pull that bit through. And it is pretty much hiding it. It is pretty much hiding it. So yeah, that's fine. I'm happy with that. Okay, so I've just got one more to do. Got my end in the way. Get out the way, end. I'm going to go in the bottom bit here and then go through the inside chain on this side and just pull that through. I'm like twisting this round. Just going to twist it round a bit and go through the inside loop. Same on this side, go through the inside of the chain. I'm going to place one more, twist this bit round and go through here, and then go through this bottom bit here and come out right there. Yeah, I mean, that's fine for me. I'm happy with that. That is what it ended up looking like. So I'm just going to weave in my ends, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing for my second hexagon, and then I have seamed them both together. And then it'll be time for the infill rows along the back for your neck. Right, I have now seamed both of my shoulder seams. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some infill rows, is what I call them, on the back. So like if we flip the fronts out like that, we are just going to be adding some rows up and down on each back section, and that's going to make room for your neck. Now I'm just going to do normal double crochet rows backwards and forwards. This is where you can get creative, because lots of people sometimes add granny squares in between when you'd have to count your stitches and work it all out. I'm just going to keep things nice and simple for the tutorial and just do rows of double crochet, but you can get as inventive as you like. So yeah, I'm going to start on this bit first. So I'm going to keep this to one side as it is, keeping it laid out like this, because if I pick it up and touch it by the wrong bit, I've done that before. Like I don't even know what I did. I think I put it I did one on the back and I did one on the front. Then when it came to seaming it together, I was like, oh, that's really wrong, and I had to undo loads of stitches. So I always say keep it as it's meant to go together, and then you won't mess it up basically. So I'm just going to gently move this on the other side of my table and leave it there, ready for when I have to work on that side. So we're now going to add some rows back and forth. You're going to have to look in the written description for this part for your back infill measurement rows. I'm doing a small, and mine says I've got to add roughly 4.5 centimetres on each hexagon. So 4.5 centimetres on here and 4.5 centimetres on my second one that I've just moved out of the way. Okay, so for this side, I am going to have to join my yarn in the bottom corner because that row, the final row, my stitches are currently facing the wrong side. If they were facing the right side, I would have to attach my yarn into the top corner because I've still kind of got a bit of my corner here, or in the seam, wherever, doesn't really matter. Just attach it wherever you can. Just got to make sure that wherever you attach your yarn at the top, that you end in the same place on your opposite side, if that makes any sense. Now mine is that I have to attach mine in the bottom corner. So I'm just going to turn it round, literally just spin it round on its side, and I'm ready to go from the bottom up. Yours might be the other way, because of how your stitches are sitting, or you might just think, oh, I'm going to copy her and start from the bottom. It's up to you, whatever. So yes, I'm following my turning of my work. My stitches are facing the wrong side, so I am ready to go from the bottom corner. So let me just zoom in a little bit. I mean, this is really easy again. We're just doing double crochets, aren't we? Let me just get my yarn. Now on a bit of a darker colour now. So because I'm starting in the bottom corner, I'm going to attach my yarn with a slip stitch in the bottom corner and chain 3. Sorry, I just had a delivery show up, so I had to just disappear for a couple of seconds. So I've chained 3 in this corner, and I'm just going to put a double crochet in every single stitch. Double crochet in every stitch until I get to this top seam. So I'll meet you here. Okay, so I'm right near the end of my row. Kind of got a little bit of a gap here before my seam. So I'm going to place my final stitch like in between this gap. Yours might look a little bit different. Just eye it up really and see what you think. But yeah, I have put my final stitch just before the seam. So when I go on to my opposite side, which I'm actually going to do now, I think, because I'm making mine both at the same time. My opposite side, I have to go in, or I have to start it right at the top rather than the bottom, because it's the opposite way to this side. So I'm going to join my yarn in between the stitch and this seam, but as you can see, my gap isn't as big on here than what it is on the other side. So I'm going to count my stitches, I think, and make sure that I've got the same amount of stitches on this side as what I'm going to have on this side. So I've just added my first back infill row. I am actually going to fasten off because I need to change colour. If you're sticking with the same colour, all you're going to do is chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn your work, and then put a double crochet in the next stitch and a double crochet in every single stitch until you get to the end of the row, and place your final double crochet in the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the previous row. So I am changing colour, but because I'm using a yarn cake, I'm just using one yarn cake on each side, I am going to make a start on my opposite side as well, so that the colours kind of match. Where's my scissors? I've lost them. I lost my scissors. Snip that end off there. So that is my first back infill row added. Just zoom out a little bit as far as I can. As you can see already, it's sticking out from my front panel. I'm going to call it the front panel, and that's going to be called the back panel. I think it's probably the easiest way to do it. So because I'm using a yarn cake, I'm going to make a start on my opposite side next. kind of looks like I've already done it because that's where I had to fasten off and I got that first bit of colour there. I was like, oh no, I was really hoping it would stay that colour, but that's the thing when you're using a yarn cake, you're not in control of the colours, and that's the thing I struggle with the most. So because this side, I had to start in the bottom corner, that now means on this side, I have to start in the top. So I just need to make sure that when I've done this side here, that I've got the same amount of stitches as what I have this side. So I'm going to add my first infill row, exactly what I've just done, but I'm starting at the top rather than the bottom. And then I'll meet you back here when I've done that. Okay, so I've added a back infill row on my second hexagon. And I've now got the chain space left. So I'm just going to put one double crochet in that chain space. And that's it. I'm changing colour because that's what I did on the other side. So I'm going to fasten off. But again, if you're sticking with the same colour, you just need to chain 3, turn your work, and then just keep putting your double crochets back in every stitch until you get to the end of the row. So I'm going to fasten off quickly. You don't have to do it like how I'm doing it, by the way. I know I'm doing each side, well, both sides, I mean, at the same time. You don't have to do it like that. It's just because I'm using a yarn cake. Like I say, if I start getting colour changes, I kind of want it to match slightly. So I've only done one row so far. I need each side to be 4.5 centimetres. I mean, obviously, I've got a way to go yet. But you're just going to measure from where you've started your back infill rows. I'm at 1 centimetre, so that means I probably need to add like another 3, I'm guessing. If I'm saying each infill row is 1 centimetre for me, I could add either another 3 or 4, doesn't matter. As long as I'm close to that 4.5 centimetres, it's fine. So keep adding your infill rows back and forth on each side until each side is the measurement that you're working towards. So mine's 4.5 centimetres on each side. And I'll meet you back here when you've got all your infill rows. Okay, so I have added my back infill rows. This is the front, and these bits here are the rows that I added on. I got mine to roughly 4.5 centimetres. Actually, I don't quite know what it is because I haven't measured it. I'm saying I'm done. I actually might not be done. Let's have a look. Where are we at? Yes, it is literally 4.5 centimetres. Awesome. So I'm doing a small. Mine said 4.5 centimetres on each side. So that's what I've added on. Now what we need to do is join these two pieces together by seaming this part. Now how you seam it, again, is completely up to you. I am going to be doing the exact same seam that I did on my sleeves. So for that, I need to be working on the front of my cardi, so like the right side of my cardi. If you're doing a seam where you're working on the inside, well then obviously you're going to be seaming it just like this, down the inside, but I need to flip my pieces over because my seam is worked on the outside. But like I say, seam it however you wish. But I'm going to seam it like how I did with my sleeves, which means going through the centre loop on each side with a needle. Okay, so because I'm working on the outside of my cardi to do my seam, I'm going to flip everything around. So I need my back pieces. There's one, that one, and then I think I'm going to lay this one out like that actually. I'm going to lay that one on its side. That's the front and that's the back, but I'm working into like literally that centre loop, aren't I? So I'm just going to get my other piece and line it up. So that one needs to go on upside down like that. So that's the back of my cardi there. And I'm now ready to seam mine because my seam is on the front of my fabric. So yeah, Don't know why I keep repeating myself. You probably got it the first time, didn't you? Okay, so because I'm using a needle, I'm just going to cut a bit of yarn. What I tend to do is just kind of go 3 lengths maybe. Oh, hang on a minute, I've got a little knot in there. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of that. Let me just snip that off. Don't want a knot in my seam, do we? Right, let's go again. I'm using the same colour as what I used for my final row. I've never actually tried it in a different colour. Whether it'd be like a hidden seam, I actually don't know. Maybe one day I should try it in a contrasting colour. Right, let's just zoom in. I'm just going to do a little bit because I've obviously gone through this already with the sleeves. We just thread my needle. Okay. So my first stitch on here is actually the chain 3. So I'm just going to go in that back loop of the chain 3. You pick up my back piece and then go through the inside loop. You see that? I'm going to go through that, but from the bottom up. And then pull that through. Make sure I leave a nice long tail so I can securely seam it. Not seam it, weave them at ends and stuff. Getting confused as to what bit's what. Right, that's the bit I'm pulling. So, yes. And then I'm just going to keep repeating that all the way through. Through that one on that side. Pull it through a little bit, I think. And then come to my back piece. And go through the centre loop. Pull that through, not too tight so that it doesn't pull my little tail end out. What's it doing? There we go. It's playing me up, look, because I'm recording. That's what it's doing. So through that centre one and through the centre one on the opposite side. I'm just going to keep doing this all the way up. So yeah, that's what I'm doing to seam mine. Remember, you can seam it however you wish. There is no right or wrong way of doing this. I'm just showing you how I'm doing it. You can do it however you wish. So I'll meet you back here when your cardi has been seamed together. My cardi is officially seamed together, which is exciting. So you can now try it on properly. Don't worry if you try it on and the bottom bit of the bag is sticking out a little bit. You've just seamed 2 pieces together. It is going to stick out a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's just been put together in an unnatural position. So when you start adding more rows to the bottom, it's going to bring that bit in. So, next up, sleeves. Right, sleeve time. So when I do my sleeves, I always like to do my first round on the right side of the cardi. I mean, it's completely up to you how you do it. I just like to see, like, because we're going to have to go into here and get this bit together. I just like to do all that on the right side. So, I mean, if you want to do it on the wrong side, do it. There's no rules, okay? So, I'm going to be working both of my sleeves at the same time because I have got colour changes. I'm using a yarn cake. I want to try and keep it as consistent as I can. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get my yarn ready on my hook. And then we've got our seam at the minute is on the top of the cardi. Now I like to make my seam, when I'm adding my rounds, I like the seam to be at the back from here on out. So we're just going to eyeball this. I'm going to fold it in half like this. And I'm literally, I mean, if you want to use a stitch marker, that's fine. Pop a stitch marker right in the bottom here. I'm just going to like, just look at it and grab it and go, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to go in the underneath bit now, which means that the seam is going to be on the bottom of this sleeve, like under here, as opposed to on the top. Can't really fit my arm in very well because have I zoomed in already? I don't know. Yeah, I think I might have zoomed in. If not, I'm going to zoom in now. No, I haven't zoomed in yet. Let me zoom in a little bit. Wee, 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 wee. Okay. Right. So we're just going to be doing double crochets, just like we have been doing. Oh, I'm getting all tied up here. What enough. Right, I'm going to join my yarn with a slip stitch. And then just chain 3. And then put a double crochet in every stitch until I get to my seam, which is at the top of my sleeve at the moment. So just 1 double crochet in every stitch. I'm going to keep doing that, and I'm going to meet you when we get to the top of the seam. Okay, so I've done half of my sleeve already, and I'm now up to the top seam where we joined it. Now yours might look totally different to mine because you might have done a different seam. So if you have, you just got to just look at it really and think, right, where would be the best place for me to put my double crochets across this section? There's no right or wrong way. So if you do it and you think, oh, that's a bit gappy, you can go back, frog it, add a couple more in there. Or you think, oh, there's too many, that's getting a bit bulky, go back and do some. You know, there's no right or wrong way. So what I'm going to do with mine is I've got my chain space here. I'm going to put a double crochet in my chain space. I'm going to put 1 double crochet like in the center of the seam. Just wiggle it in wherever. And then I'm just going to put another double crochet in the opposite corner chain space. And that's what I'm going to do for mine. And now I'm back onto my stitches. So I'm just going to keep adding my double crochets in every stitch. You just got to remember how many stitches you've made on this sleeve and make sure that you add the exact same amount of stitches on the opposite sleeve. Okay? So that's what mine looks like. So keep adding stitches in every single stitch. We'll keep adding double crochets in every single stitch, and I'll meet you back here when we get to the end of the round. I'm now at the end of the round, so I'm just going to put a slip stitch in the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round to join it up. And from here on out, all you're going to keep doing is adding double crochets just in the round. I'm going to be turning my work after every round to keep this seam central. If you don't turn your work, your seam will start to go diagonal and it's not a good look. So next round, just to start it off, I'm going to chain 3, turn my work. This is where it gets a bit all like, where you keep having to turn every time, but it's fine. Then we're going to go in the next stitch with a double crochet and every single stitch with a double crochet. Nice and easy. Now, if you're making this cardi for yourself, I just suggest keep trying it on until you're happy with your sleeve length. You've got to think about, are you going to add a cuff or not? I'm going to add a cuff. I don't think I'm going to put ribbing on this cuff. I think I might just like decrease it when I get to where I want my cuff to be, and then just do some more double crochets. Just mix it up a bit. I do like a bit of ribbon, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like being a bit different today and just adding more double crochets. Double crochets all the way. But you can do whatever kind of cuff you want. Or don't do no cuff at all. So, oh, well, I've just gone and got that all twisted. and just pull that up a bit. If you're making it for somebody else and you're like, well, I don't quite know how long to do the sleeves, I've got a rough measurement in the written description. So let me just zoom out a minute. Oh, I just need to drop the remote. Oh no, going the wrong way. Oh, technology's fun, isn't it? Okay, we haven't really zoomed out that far, but it's all right because my sleeve isn't really that long. So, if you go look in the written description and find the measurement that you are, the size that you are working, and then look for sleeve length. Now mine's a size small. My sleeve length says 38 centimetres. I can't remember if that's with or without a cuff right now. My brain's gone a bit dead, but never mind. So basically what you do is you will measure from the underarm straight out. Don't measure from up here. You're going to take the measurement from the underarm. So at the minute I'm at 20 centimetres, so I've still got a little way to go. So yeah, if you're working it for yourself, then obviously keep trying it on. But if you're doing it for someone else, then I've got a rough guide on measurements in the written description. So I'm going to keep working my sleeve until I'm happy with the length, and then I'm going to add a cuff on it. But like I say, I'm not going to do ribbing this time. I think I'm just going to put some double crochets. I'm going to decrease it and then add some more double crochets just to finish it off. So I'll meet you back here for the cuffs. Okay, so I have been making extra rounds on my sleeve. I feel happy where the length is. I've tried it on. I've even measured it. I've got a little bit over my 38 centimetres that I was aiming for. I'm about 39. That's okay. It's absolutely fine. I have actually done the other side and done my decrease and what I've done for my cuff already. So what I've done is my next round, I've done some decreases, and I've just finished mine off with a double crochet, and that's it. You can finish your cuff however you wish. If you want to put ribbing on it, then put some ribbon on it, okay? I just decided, you know what? I'm going to just do some double crochets with mine, and I quite like it. So, let's crack on with it, shall we? And I'll show you what I did. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is decrease my cuff. Now, it's up to you how many decreases you do. I'm just going to show you what I've done. If you want to do another round and add more decreases or have less decreases, that is completely up to you. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. But I'm just going to show you how I decreased my sleeve. You can try it and see what you think. If you don't like it, it's too tight, do less decreases, etc. So what I'm going to do, I'm currently, I'm still changing, what's the word? I'm still turning my work after each round. So I'm going to chain one and turn my work. And basically, I'm just going to do single crochet 2 together in every stitch. So I'm going to go into my same stitch. If I can get in it, it's a bit tight. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we're in, just about. That was a bit blooming tight, wasn't it? So what I'm going to do is a single crochet 2 together. So I'm going to yarn over and pull up my, pull up a loop. I've got 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through both of those. And that's just basically made 2 stitches become 1. And I'm going to do that in every single stitch. So single crochet 2 together all the way around. Go in my first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Gives me 2 loops on my hook. Go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Got 3 loops on my hook. Yarn over and go through all 3. I'll show you again one more time. Go in the first stitch, pull up a loop. Go in the next stitch, pull up a loop and go through all 3 loops. I'm just going to keep doing that in every 2 stitches all the way around. And that is how I decrease my sleeve. and I'm quite happy with how that comes out. Remember as well, when you start adding a few rounds, it might decrease it a little bit more. It always seems to pull it in a little bit more the more rounds that you add. If you're adding ribbon after this, then it will pull in the rounds a bit more. I'm not though, I'm just doing bog standard double crochet. So yeah, single crochet, 2 together, all the way around. And I'll meet you back here when you get to the end of the round. I'm at the end of my decrease round. I actually have 1 stitch left over, but I'm just going to skip over that and ignore it. You can either place 1 single crochet in that stitch, or you can just skip over it because you're doing a decrease round anyway, so it's not really going to matter. I'm going to skip over mine. I'm going to come into my first single crochet 2 together and place a slip stitch to join the round together. And now from here on out, I am just going to do exactly what we've done on the sleeves and just do rounds of double crochet for my cuff. I'm not doing anything fancy because I don't feel like it on this one. Maybe I might make another one another time and put ribbon on it, but right now I just feel like doing double crochets. But like I say, if you want to put ribbon on yours, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, I'm just going to chain 3, turn my work, I'm still turning back and forth, and then putting a double crochet in every stitch. And I'm going to keep doing that until I'm happy with the length. And because I've already done one side, I know that I've added 4 rounds onto mine. Obviously you might need more, you might need less, because we're all using different yarn, aren't we? Because it's made to measure. You can use whatever yarn you wish. So you might need more, you might need less. I actually did about 6, and then when I tried it on, I was like, no, that don't look right. There is far too many. So I pulled 2 out and was like, yeah, I'm happy with that. So yeah, just keep adding rounds until you're happy with your length. And if you haven't done so already, make your second sleeve. Obviously I made mine both together at the same time because I'm using a yarn cake and I kind of want the colours as similar as possible on each side. So yeah, then do exactly the same thing for your other sleeve and cuff that exactly the same way. And then I'll meet you back here where we're going to add length to the cardi. I now have 2 sleeves and 2 cuffs. Still got to weave my ends in on this one, but I'll do that in a bit. So next section is adding some length to the bottom. However much you add is completely up to you. Even I haven't got a clue how much I'm going to add just yet. I'm just going to crochet, try it on, see what I think. So for the bottom bit, we are literally just going to twist the cardi upside down, because we are now going to work from this bottom corner on this side, because really if you lay it out flat, we're going to be just working in one long row across the bottom of the cardi, back and forth, adding some rows. So I am going to put my first row with my cardi right side facing, just like I did with my sleeves, because I like to see what I'm doing when I'm going in the middle here. Of the seam, I mean. So yeah, let's get on it. Now I've decided that once I'm happy with how much length I've added, I am going to do a few rows of ribbing on the bottom of my cardi. That's the only time I'm going to put ribbing on my cardi, is along the bottom, because I feel like it helps to draw it in a little bit. I like my cardis to like come in a little bit around the bottom area. You don't have to do this, it's completely optional, but that's what I've decided. So for me, that means I have to make the stitch count of this first row that I'm adding on an odd number of stitches. If you're not adding any ribbon or anything fancy, you're just going to keep doing double crochets, well then it doesn't even matter what your stitch count is. Although it's handy to remember if you like to keep track of your stitches so you don't start increasing or decreasing by mistake. But because I'm going to put ribbon on the bottom, I would like this row that I'm now adding to have an odd number of stitches so that my ribbon will work out right. So we're going to go in the bottom corner, which is actually now at the top. I'm going to insert my hook with a slip stitch and chain 3, which is going to class as your first double, And then I'm just going to move straight on to the stitches, and we're just going to put 1 double crochet in every stitch. Nice and easy. And we're going to keep doing this until you reach your back infill rows. So I will meet you at the centre of the cardi. Okay, so I've now made it to my back infill rows, and we're now going to be working around the double crochet bars of these lines that we added in on the back panel. So what we're going to do is I'm going to place 2 double crochets around each double crochet bar. So 2 double crochets around that one, move on to the next one. 2 double crochets around that one, move on to the next one, 2 double crochets around that one. Keep going until you reach your center seam. Now, because I need to have an odd number of stitches, if I just place 1 stitch in the center of my seam, I'm going to end up with an even number. So what I need to do is I need to place 2 single crochets in my center seam to keep my odd number of stitches. So I'm going in the center of my seam, right here, wherever, just wiggle it in the middle as best you can, and I'm going to place 2 single crochets. If you're not doing ribbon and it don't matter what your stitch count is, then you can just place 1 single crochet in here. Right, I'm moving back over to the opposite side now and going back through my double crochet bars, placing 2 double crochets in there, and then round the next one, and so on and so forth. Until I get back to my hexagon sides. So I'm going to put 1 double crochet in my corner, what was the corner chain space, and now I'm back to the stitches. And by the time I get to the very end of the row, I should have an odd number of stitches. So you're going to work all the way to the end of your row, and you're going to place your final double crochet in this corner chain space. Just right in there. And that's your first row. I've just finished my first row. Now if that's all you want to add and you want to keep it short, then that's fine. Although if you've made a longer length, it probably is a bit longer than if you've made, not a longer length, a larger size is going to come out a bit longer than a shorter size, just because of the way the cardi is. Excuse me. I'm going to add another round, or row. Exactly. I'm just changing colour. But if you're sticking with the same colour and you want to add more length, you're just going to chain 3 and turn your work. I'm just going to attach a new colour with a slip stitch. You can attach a new colour however you wish. I'm not quite sure how long I'm going with mine yet. So I might just add a few rows, try it on, see what I think. So I'm just adding in my new colour and chaining 3. And then going in the next stitch with a double crochet, and every single stitch with a double crochet. It's that easy. So yeah, from here on out, just keep adding double crochet rows until you're happy with your length, and you can either finish it with some ribbing, or you can just leave it as it is, or you could do some single crochets. You can finish it however you wish, okay? Before I disappear from this section, I'm just going to take you all the way to the end of this row. All the way across. So we're adding doubles in all of these stitches. You just got to remember that when you get to the end, you're going to go in the final double crochet stitch, but your final double crochet is going to go in the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the previous row. So don't miss that one out, otherwise your cardigan is going to start slanting diagonal always make sure that the final stitch you go in is the top of the chain 3, because it can be quite easy to miss it. So yeah, keep adding rounds. I keep saying rounds. It's because we've been doing rounds the whole time and now all of a sudden we're doing rows. Keep adding rows until you are happy with your length. And then the next section is going to be the hood. Okay, so my next little section is ribbing. I think I might have missed that out on my last video. I'm not sure. I think I just said, oh, it's the hood next. And then I came off and it was like, oh no, it's not. I've got to do the ribbing. So this is optional. You don't have to do ribbing if you don't want to. I've kept my cardi quite short. I've only added 4 extra rows. You can make it as long as you want, so keep going until you're happy with your length. The reason I stopped is because I've got 2 yarn cakes that I've been using. I've got quite a bit left, but I want to make the hood as well, and I want to make sure it's got some of this lovely purple colour in it, going to the pink and the orange if I can. Fingers crossed, who knows. So, ribbing, if that's what you want to do. Let me just zoom in a little bit. About there, do you think? I'm changing colour and I'm going to attach my yarn with a slip stitch, but if you're changing colour, remember you can do it however you wish. So I'm just going to go in my first stitch. Now, if you're doing ribbon and you're going to stick with the same colour, then you just need to chain 2 and turn your work. Not chain 3, you're going to do a chain 2. So let me just attach my yarn. So chain 2. And now I am just going to do some front and back post crochets. So ignoring this first one because we've just gone into that with our chain 2, or you've turned and done a chain 2, ignore the first stitch. I'm going to come down to my next one. I'm going to put a front post double crochet. And then the next one is a back post double crochet. Then a front post double crochet. And then back post. I'm just going to keep alternating between front and back post until I have 1 stitch that remains. So it's just front and back to give that little ripply ribbing effect. So I'll meet you when you get to the end of the row and that you still have 1 stitch remaining. Okay, I've actually got 2 stitches remaining here. So my last stitch, and yours were too if you've done the same as me, should be a front post double crochet. Well, I say your last stitch, your second from last stitch, because that's the same stitch that we started on. And then the final stitch, you've got to wiggle forwards your chain 3 from the previous row, and you're going to put a half double crochet in the top of the chain 3. Just a half double, and that helps to keep the height the same. And there we go, first row of ribbing. Now I'm just trying to decide, do I keep going mustard or do I alternate blue and mustard ribbing? I'm just going to have a little think off camera and then I'll come back and we'll start row 2. Okay, I've decided to alternate colours. It's either going to look incredibly funky or it's going to look absolutely mental, but I'm cool with either one. I'm going to take a chance. So I'm just going to change my colour. If you're sticking with the same colour, you are now going to chain 2 and then turn your work and you're ready to go again. I'm just going to turn my work because I like to join my yarn in with a slip stitch. It's just an old habit. Sometimes I crochet it in, like using the final stitch, but most of the time I just do it like this. Personal preference, isn't it? So let me just attach my new colour and chain 2 Now for row 1 we started off with a front post double crochet, but we are now working on the opposite side, so we now need to start with a back post double crochet so that our ribbing will be in line with each other. It will be stacked. These stitches that are sticking out will be stacked, and literally from here on out we are just going to keep repeating row 1, row 2, row 1, row 2 until you're happy with the length. So row 2 we start with a back post double crochet on that very next stitch, remember. Oh, my belly just made a right strange noise. I always gurgles when I'm recording. Always gurgles. Right, next stitch, front post double crochet, then a back post double crochet. Front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet. And just keep repeating that all the way to the end, and I will meet you at the end one more time, and I'll just go over a little bit of row 3 and then I will leave you on your merry way. Okay? Okay, so I'm right near the end of my row. I have now got my final back post double crochet to make. And then I've got the chain 2 from the beginning of the previous row. So I just need to put a half double crochet in the top of the chain 2, and that is my second row completed. If you are sticking with the same colour, then you'll chain 2 and turn your work. I'm changing colour. I don't know why. I mean, I'm just going to give myself loads of ends, but I think it's going to look pretty cool. So, well, I'm not even prepared. Hang on, let me just swap my yarn over on my little wool genie. Right, I'm going to turn my work around. I'm not quite sure how many rows I'm going to do just yet. I'm going to do one more and then I'm going to try it on. Sorry, got a little tickle in my throat. So yeah, you can do as many rows as you wish. There are no rules to how many rows you add. It's all personal preference. So let me just attach my yarn with a slip stitch. So remember I said that we're alternating rows 1 and 2. So that means I'm back to row 1 technically, which means I need to start my row with a front post double crochet. So I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to come to my next stitch, which is sticking out as well. So that's a good reminder anyway. You're like, oh, that one's sticking out. Got to put a front post double crochet around that one. And the one that's going back is the back post double crochet. One that sticks out to the front is the front post. And the one that sticks out to the back is the back post. So we are just going to keep repeating these rows until you are happy with the length of the ribbing. Remember that it starts with a chain 2 and ends with a half double crochet. And that's about all I need to tell you, I think. Next section is going to be the hood. So I'll see you there. Okay, so now we need to work out where the hood's going to go. If you're making it for yourself, then I suggest you try it on, or if you're making it for someone else, it would be very handy if you had them close by to model it and get an idea of where you want it to go, your hood, because I kind of put it on and I eyeball it. I look down and I think, it's going to come like here. I like my hood to be quite big and baggy as well. Don't really like, the higher you go, the less width your hood is going to have. But bearing in mind, I am going to be adding some rows over the whole thing once it's done, just to finish it off and add my buttonholes. So you got to take that in mind as well. I think, do you know, actually looking in my little camera bit, right where my dress is actually the perfect place for where I would normally put my hood. Just looking down, looking up. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy with that right there. So what I might do is I'm going to put one stitch marker. It's quite good I got this dress on today. I'm going to put one stitch marker through that stitch there. Oh gosh. Get on my double chin out doing that. And then I'm going to take it off and I'm going to count how many stitches to like the back section where my seam is, and I'm going to put a stitch marker in the opposite side. And what I'm going to do as well, I am going to measure mine and I will let you know what measurement I've gone for. Now you can go for more, you can go for less, it's completely up to you. But if you've got my measurement to work towards as well, that's always a good starting point. If you feel like, oh, I just don't want to eyeball it, I'm a bit nervous, don't worry, don't be nervous. Honestly, the worst thing that can happen is you lose a little bit of your time and you have to frog it and put it in a place where you prefer. I know it's a little bit of time, but I used to be so scared about doing things like this. Oh, what if I get it wrong? Just don't worry, just undo it. I know it's rubbish, but we learn from our mistakes and that is how we grow. So just take these chances, it'll be fine. So yeah, next section, I will let you know my measurement from here to the back, and that will give you a rough idea of what to work towards. Right, I've just laid my cardi out and I've just counted how many stitches I have from here all the way up to the top seam. Now I have 24 stitches. Yours is going to be totally different probably because, you know, we're both making different sized things and different yarn. Can't get my words out right, but never mind, you know what I mean. So I'm going to come to this opposite side and I'm going to start from the top and I'm going to count my 24 stitches and place my stitch marker in the 24th stitch. So I'll come back to you when I've done that. Okay, so I've got my stitch marker in, a little bit smaller than this one, but we'll just ignore that. I've got stitch markers all over the place, all different shapes and sizes. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to measure how long it is from the top of the seam on mine, and that can give you a rough estimate as to what measurement to work towards. So mine is 17 centimetres, okay? That is where I've placed my stitch marker. I'm making a size small and I went for 17 centimetres. But that was against my body and I thought, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. You've got to think, the higher you place it, the further back it's going to be from your face. The longer you place it, the wider your hood is going to be. So keep that in mind when you're doing your stitch marker placement here. Also, if you're choosing not to do the hood, I suggest hanging around for row 1, because if you're going to go straight to the ribbon, or not ribbing, the neckline section, where we're just going to go all the way around our neckline, it would be interesting for you to see how I'm going to cut across this bit. I mean, literally, it is like another eyeballing thing. I'm probably going to pop one double crochet just in that corner, pretty much. But then we've got our double crochet bars coming up, which we put 2 double crochets around. So yeah, that probably might help if you stay and just watch me do row 1 of the ribbon. I keep calling it ribbon, a hood. What am I talking about? Row 1 of the hood, just to get an idea how to come along your back neckline. And then you can go to the neckline section and miss out row 1 and then go to row 2. Way! Or you can just get on with it yourself and go, yeah, that's fine, I know what I'm doing. So yeah, but I'm adding a hood. So obviously, if you don't add a hood, it's going to look a little bit different when we get to the neckline section. Okay, hood, row 1. I like to join my yarn on the wrong side, on the inside, because when you do a hood, it is naturally going to make your cardi go like this, and you're going to see that join where you've joined your yarn in, and along the back neckline as well. So I'm going to start from the right side, this right stitch marker. Just going to kind of move it like this a bit, zoom in a little bit, get my yarn. Where's my hook? I don't have my hook. Once you've got this first row out the way, we're just going to be doing rows of double crochet. So I'm going to attach my yarn. Oh no, there's a knot in my... hang on. I'm back. Sorry, I had a little knot in my yarn. So I'm going to attach my yarn into the same stitch as the first stitch marker. Not put that through there very well, look, but never mind. I'm going to attach it on the wrong side, on the right hand side of my cardi with a slip stitch and then chain 3. Now we're just going to place a double crochet in every stitch until we reach the back neckline. Now coming up to my back neckline, you can do whatever you want here. I mean, I'm thinking I'm probably just going to go into the stitches. That one's a little bit tight for me in there. So I've done all my stitches. I'm just going to come straight onto my first DC bar on the back neckline. So I've gone into all the stitches on the side and then I'm going to go straight around the first DC bar and put 2 double crochets around each double crochet bar. I do call it DC bar as well. That's how I always write it out in my patterns. So that's what's always stuck in my head. DC bar. Like so. Again, coming up to where we did the seam, you can do whatever you wish here. I think I'm going to put 2 double crochets in the centre, just like what I did on the bottom part when we started adding in extra rows along the bottom. And that just keeps it a bit more consistent really, doesn't it? So 2 double crochets around my next double crochet bar. And then keep doing this all the way along the back neckline until we come to the next side. And then, yeah, I'm back to my stitches. So I'm going to start putting them down the side. Oh, I think I've got a little bit of a gap here. Yeah, I have. I haven't got that gap the other side. So literally I am going to go into this little gap that I've got going on here. So I don't have a big like hole in my hood. Really doesn't matter about how many stitches we're putting in here, you know. There is no stitch count for me. What is a stitch count? So coming back down the other side, we're just trying to make it look nice and even and not very gappy. But ultimately you need to just look at what you've been doing with your work and make your own decision really as to where you want your double crochets to go. I'm just giving you a rough idea. All depends on how you seamed it as well. If you seamed it differently to me, you're going to be working with a cardi that's a little bit different to what mine is. So I'm now coming back to my next stitch marker. I say coming back, I'm now coming towards the next stitch marker. And I'm going to put my final double crochet in the stitch with the stitch marker. Now, because I'm crazy and I'm changing colour all the blinking time, I'm fastening off here, but if you are sticking with the same colour, you are just going to chain 3 and turn your work, just like we have been doing. But I need my scissors, where are they? Oh, over here. I keep jumping to the table to record, and then when I've got loads of crochet to do, I'm literally binge watching TV shows. It's a hard life. So naughty, binge watching TV shows when the rest of the kids are at school. Gotta cram it in, you know. As soon as they get back, they take charge of the telly. Right, I'm changing colour. And literally now all we're going to do is double crochet rows back and forth. We're going to keep building it up backwards and forwards. I mean, you could even stop after a few and give it a collar. Try it on. Sometimes they look really cute with just a little collar. But we are going to keep adding these rows. If you're making the hood, we just chain 3 and put a double crochet in my next stitch and double crochet in every stitch. Yeah, if you're making the hood, ooh, we're going to keep crocheting the hood until it comes, both sides come to the centre of your head. When you try it on, you'll understand what I mean. When it starts getting bigger, you're going to be able to pull it up beside your ears, like this section, and the section on the opposite side is going to get longer, and you're going to be able to try it on and lift it up and start to see, oh yeah, I've got a few more until I can meet it in the middle. And then once the two sides meet at the top of your head, we are going to seam it together. And that's going to create the hood. I like my hoods to be a little bit big and baggy, otherwise it just looks really funny. I've done that before, like didn't quite make it tall enough, although it did come to my head, so I was like, yeah, that's perfect, they meet in the middle, I'm going to seam it. But when I put the hood up, it was so like tight to my head, it just looked really funny. Oh, it did look ever so funny. So it's a non-functional hood, but never mind. So now I always make sure I make sure that the sides meet in the middle and some. So yeah, literally we are just going to keep adding rows back and forth until these side bits here actually meet at the top of your head, and I will show you that in my next video. So just keep adding lots of rows of double crochet and I will show you in the next video exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so I've been busy adding rows back and forth to my hood, and what I've ended up with is like a big flap. So when you hold it up, you're going to want it to like sit above your head so you can put it together like this. Now I've gone just a little bit above my head because I like mine to be loose with a bit of bag at the bottom. If you go really tight, kind of look a bit like a, I don't really know. Don't know, I did that before and I didn't like it, but if you like it, then have it like that. That's fine. I like it to have a little bit of bag. So the best way to try it out and make sure that it's okay is by putting some stitch markers along the top. I'm going to do that quickly and show you what I mean. Okay, so I've just popped some stitch markers in mine. You can kind of get a gist now as to like what it's going to look like. So if I just pull it up on my head, I quite like mine to sit loose. It's also quite far back here because I'm going to be adding some rounds around my neckline. So I'm happy with that, where it's situated. The dress worked out good for me in the end. And this is what mine looks like. Now I've got a pointy bit at the back. I like the point, so I like to keep the point. If you're not keen on the point, you can round that section off. So what you'd need to do when you seam your hood is use a needle and thread and go through both stitches on both sides. And then when you get, it's a bit hard without me really seeing, but like maybe where my stitch marker is, maybe when you get there, you will round it off. I hope I'm in view. It's a bit hard to tell if I'm in view or not. Got a bit of the sun going on. Well, I'm a bit low there, but that'll be alright, won't it? You can then bring your seam across here and round it off, and then you can tuck your little end in, and that will round off that and stop you from having the point. But I like the point, so I keep the point in. So next up is seaming. Again, if you like the point, you can seam it however you want. You can use your hook and do a single crochet seam or a slip stitch seam. I'm going to have a go at doing the exact same seam that I use on sleeves and the back. And if it doesn't look good, You'll obviously find out about it in a little while, but hopefully it'll be all right. So yeah, let's seam the hood. Okay, I've just took my stitch markers out quickly. So my seam that I'm doing has to be on the right side of the cardigan, so on the outside basically. So when I fold mine, basically we've just done this big rectangle on top of our cardi, going all the way up, and we are going to fold the top and place the seam along the top. Now this is the outside of my cardi, and that's how I'm working my seam, on the outside. If your seam are doing a different one and it needs to be on the inside, then you need to fold yours the other way so that the inside of your cardi is on show. Does that make sense? Not on show, but you know what I mean. So this is the inside, but I need to swap mine around because I'm working on the outside. So yeah, if you wanted to get rid of that point, you could literally use a needle and thread, go through every single stitch at the same time, blah, 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 blah. And then when you get to about here, I would then suggest to start curving your seam through. Just taking that little corner off. That's all you got to do. And then that rounds off your hood. But I like the point, so the point's staying. So I'm going to do my little fancy seam that I've done on my shoulders and my sleeves. So let me get some yarn. I need to cut some yarn. Ooh, my goodness, I've got... Oh no, let's wait. Here we go. Scissors. Okay, so this is the seam I'm doing. Remember, you can do whatever you wish. So I'm going to start at this end here, not the folded end. I'm starting at the front. And I'm just going to go through my inside loop. Oh, yeah, it was a corner of a loop. Yeah, I think I was. And then I've got the chain on this side, so I'm going to go through the inside loop on the chain. Pull it through, leaving a nice long tail so I can securely weave my ends in. And then just keep going through each inside. I hope it's going to look right. I mean, I can't see why it won't, because I'm going to be adding some rows of double crochet around the edge, so I think it'll be all right. So yeah, just going to keep going through the inside loops until I get right to the corner of the fold. So I'll meet you back here in a bit. Okay, I'm now right near the very end. So I'm just wiggling this through them 2 stitches. Getting a little bit trickier the closer to the end I get, but I'm sure it will be absolutely fine. I'm just going to like put it through a random bit there, I think. And then I'm going to poke it through to the opposite side. So it's now on the wrong... Actually, before I do that, let me just have a little look at that. Oh, that's all right, isn't it? Yeah, I like it a lot. Yeah, I'm going to keep that. So I'm going to poke that through, and I'm just going to securely weave my ends in. And then we are ready for neckline and buttons. And I totally forgot to say things you need right at the beginning of the video. Buttons! How did I forget that? But I'm hoping to hopefully put a little picture when I'm editing the video on that section to say buttons, buttons. Go. Right, neckline. Right, it's now time for the neckline section. But before you start that, you need to make sure that your buttons are going to go through your buttonholes. Okay, so the buttons that I'm using are 2.5 centimetres. I got this little selection bag off Amazon. I don't even know when. I mean, if I can find it, I will link it. But I did get this a long time ago. Sorry, I've left my phone on. Heck, let me just turn that off. Okay, so we need to do a little swatch. It's probably the best thing to do because we're probably all using different yarns, different hooks, and you need to make sure that your buttons are going to go through your buttonholes. Now I'm using DK yarn and a 5mm hook, and my buttons are 2.5 centimeters. So I'm going to do a little swatch of double crochets. I'm only going to do like 7 stitches. Hasn't got to be anything pretty. I'm just going to make a chain, a loose chain of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I'm going to put my little thumb on there. I'm going to chain 3, which is going to be my first double crochet. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go into the 4th chain where my thumb was and place a double crochet. Don't know why I went for 7. I probably should have done 6 actually. Then that would have made it a bit more even, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many stitches you do, to be fair. I'm going to be placing a double crochet in every single chain. So we're just doing one little row of double crochet. Now the next row is going to be where I'm going to put my buttonhole. So I'm going to do, I mean it doesn't matter because it's just a sample. I'm going to do 3 stitches. I'm going to chain 3 first because that's going to class as my first stitch. I'm going to place a couple of double crochets. So 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. And now I'm going to make my buttonhole. So the buttonhole is so easy. We're just going to chain 1, skip the next stitch and then go in the next one with a double crochet. And that creates a chain space. And the chain space is your buttonhole. Need a bit more yarn, hang on. Now I'm just going to keep placing double crochets. And then to finish off my swatch, I'm going to do 1 more row of double crochets. So I'm just going to chain 3, turn my work around, put a double crochet in every stitch. When I get to my chain space, I'm just going to go in the chain space with a double crochet. Continue adding 1 double crochet in every stitch. And that is my swatch. Oh, I've gone and messed up the final stitch. Never mind, that's fine, it'll be fine. So that chain space is the buttonhole. So I've got my button. I need to make sure that I can poke my button through and that when it is through, it won't come back out again easily. I mean, it already looks quite good from here, quite a good size. Now, but can I poke this through here comfortably? Yeah, that's absolutely fine. So for me, a double crochet row for my buttonholes is absolutely fine. Now, if your gap is too big, if your buttonhole's too big, then you could do double crochets going across for your first row and then swap it to half double crochets and then put your chain space, skip your stitch, carry on with half double crochets and then revert back to double crochets. Or you can just do the whole swatch in half double crochets. Same again, that if it's too big still, then you could try a single crochet. And then if it's still too big, well, you need to get some better buttons, don't you? Get some bigger buttons. But anyway, I highly suggest just doing this little swatch first so you know what stitch will suit your buttons. I know mine's a double crochet, so from here on out, I am just going to be doing double crochets on my neckline. But if your stitch is different because it needs to be a smaller hole or it needs to be a bigger hole, then remember that you are using a slightly different stitch for your buttonholes than what I am. So right, neckline then, let's do it. Okay, neckline. So how many rows you add for your neckline is completely up to you. I think I'm going to do 3 and I'm going to add my buttons on row 2, my buttonholes anyway. and then do one more row. You can do as many as you wish. It's completely up to you, but I'm going to do 3. So I like to start on the right side of my cardi. So that's going to be, for me, looking down, straight down at the bottom is bottom left, is where I'm going to join my yarn in. So yeah, if you didn't add your hood in, I did cover a little bit of that in the hood section. If you want to look at the hood section, you will see where to place your stitches when you get to the top of your cardi. Basically, you just put in 2 double crochets in all of the double crochet bars going across the back neckline, and that's about it, really. It's that easy. It is. So, starting from the bottom left for me, because I want my stitches, my first row of stitches to be on the front. I'm just going to turn it around a bit. Zoom in a little bit. So this row is nice and easy, just a row of double crochets. So I'm going to join my yarn. Where should I join it? Actually, I'm not quite sure, you know, because I want to go around these stitches. Do I go around? I know where to go. I need to go around my half double crochet, don't I, because of my ribbing. So look, I need to kind of wiggle it in there and go around the half double crochet stitch, because we're now working on the side, so it is like a half double crochet bar, as I like to call them. I'm just going to join my yarn in with a slip stitch. Can't you tell I'm just winging this along with you all? Just winging it. It's the best way to crochet, in my opinion. Just blink and wing it. Okay, so I'm going to chain 3. Well, I'm going to place 1 more double crochet around my half double crochet bar and just keep placing 2 double crochets around each half double crochet bar. And I'm now on to the added length and not the ribbing. I'm just going to keep placing 2 double crochets around each double crochet bar, just to keep it looking consistent. I mean, if you feel like there's too many stitches on that bit, then you can try it with 1, or you can alternate 1, 2, 1, 2. Do whatever you want to do, because at the end of the day, this is your cardi. I'm just showing you the basics on how to make it, but you can add whatever modifications you wish. So I'm just keeping with my 2 double crochets around all these double crochet bars where I've added the extra length. And that's now brought me to the original hexagon. So I'm just going to place 1 double crochet in that corner that was the corner of the hexagon. And now I'm on to my stitches. So nice and easy, 1 double crochet in every single stitch until I reach my hood. So I'll meet you here when I get to the hood. Right, I am now coming up to where my hood is. Now my hood is attached to one of the stitches of the hexagon. Can you see it's going through there? So I'm going to place a stitch in there as well to avoid getting a big gap when I jump across to my double crochet bars of the hood. So I'm going to place 1 more stitch in there, and that brings me up nicely to my double crochet bars of the hood section. So I'm just going to put 2 double crochets around every double crochet bar, and it's the exact same process if you didn't use, if you didn't make the hood. Oh my gosh, sorry, somebody's outside and it's giving me a stage fright. They're right outside the window for the neighbour. I talk really loud when I'm on here, but when people are outside, I kind of freak out. I don't know if you can hear them talking. They're right outside the window. So yeah, keep putting 2 double crochets around every double crochet bar. And it's the exact same procedure if you are putting, I've said it again, if you're not doing the hood, you're going to be doing this anyway along the back neckline. So I'll keep doing this and I'll meet you at the centre of the hood. And I'm freaking out because there's people outside the window. Okay, so I'm now at the centre of my seam and I'm literally just going to wiggle my hook in the middle and I'm going to put 2 double crochets in my centre seam of my hood. And then I'm just going to continue with the 2 double crochets around all the other double crochet bars. Okay, I've just gone all the way around my hood and I'm now about to rejoin to the original hexagon. I'm going to place a stitch in the same stitch that the hood is attached to. So put a double crochet in there and I'm now back to double crochets in every stitch. So keep placing 1 double crochet in every stitch and then I'll meet you when we get back down to the added length section. Okay, so I'm now about to add on to the added length section. I've got my corner here from the original hexagon. I'm going to put 1 double crochet in there to match the opposite side. And then now I'm just going to put 2 double crochets around every double crochet bar and then every half double crochet bar to match the opposite side again. Oh, what have we done? 2 around that one. Sometimes you might have to like just give them a little wiggle, especially on the ribbing section. Give it a little wiggle to get that hole so you can poke your hook through. Last one for me. Okay, so I'm going to fasten off because I'm changing colour. If you're sticking with the same colour, then you're going to chain 3 and turn. But before you do that, we need to work out where we're going to put our buttons. And for me, I like to try it on for this bit. And then I can decide where I want my buttons to start at the top. And then I'll come back and show you how I work out the placement of them. Okay, so tried my Cardi on, loving it, really happy with it. So anyway, let's get back to the point. This is where I decide where I'd like my buttons to start at the top. So I just have a little look. I've got a stitch marker in my hand. I like mine to come like just under my chest. About here, I'm just going to put a stitch marker in one side. If I can get it in. So I'm happy for my buttons to start here and work their way down. Right, now it's time to work out button placement. You can add as many or as little buttons as you wish. You can also put your buttonholes on any side that you wish. I've gone for this side. I'll probably do it and then I'll put it on and go, oh, that feels a bit comfortable actually. Should have went the other side. But we live and learn. So yeah, I'm going to be putting my buttonholes on this side. So that means as soon as I start crocheting, I'm going to start from this corner. I'll be doing my buttonhole straight away. But if yours are on the opposite side, you just got to remember, you're just going to be chaining basically and skipping a stitch. So, buttonhole placement. I'm not going to be too super bothered about hitting this exact stitch on this side because basically this is where my buttonholes are going to go. So, let's have a look. That means my buttons are going to go this side, doesn't it? Yes. I'm not going to start on the bottom stitch either. I'm going to go on the 3rd stitch. So the 3rd stitch is where I'm going to place my first button. So I'm going to come to the opposite side and I'm going to count 3 stitches and put a stitch marker in the 3rd stitch. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And that is where my first buttonhole is going to be. Right, now I need to figure out where I want my other buttons to go. Do you know what? I'm going to put my buttons this side for a minute, I think, just to get an idea. I kind of want it to like end here. So it's just getting them even in between. So basically you're going to want the same amount of stitches between each button. And I'm aiming to get about here, aren't I? So it's just going to be a bit of like having a bit of count and another count and another count and seeing what works best for you. So let me have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's 10. And I'm going to put that on the 10th one. This might be totally different for you, by the way. I'm just showing you how I work out where I want my buttons to go. Now let's see if I count another 10 stitches, where it brings me to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or it brings me up a bit higher actually. But I think it'll be alright. Let me do my final one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Put a stitch marker in the 10th stitch. Now it's a few stitches higher than that one, but I don't mind. I don't mind. So that is where all my buttonholes are going to go. I've now marked them out. So what I need to remember when I actually finish my whole ribbing and I come to put my I come to put my buttons on the opposite side, I need to write down what I'm going to do, because I went up 3 stitches for my first one and then 10 stitches on the other 3. So for me, that's going to be 3 stitches, then 10, 10, 10. Right, I am now ready to make my buttonholes. So next up is row 2. Okay, row 2, I've changed my colour. I've decided to use my yarn cake again. I was like, do I go yellow to match the border? But I've just gone a bit crazy and thought, I'm going to use my yarn cake. Hopefully I don't regret it. I doubt I will. I mean, it's quite busy. I like busy. So, because I'm changing my colour, I'm going to join in where I left off from row 1 with a slip stitch. And I have to do double crochets for this row because that is the row that fits okay with my buttonhole for my sample. So I'm just going to chain 3, place a double, I nearly said a single crochet, double crochet in every stitch until I reach my stitch marker. So I'm here, I'm already at my stitch marker. So what I'm going to do is chain 1. I'm going to skip the stitch with the stitch marker in it. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of shot there. And then I'm going to go in my next stitch with a double crochet. So that's chain 1, skip stitch, double crochet in next stitch. Now I'm going to keep putting 1 double crochet in every single stitch until I reach the next stitch marker. Let's get my yarn getting a bit tied up there. 1 double crochet in every stitch. Okay, I've now reached my next stitch marker. So I'm going to chain 1, skip the stitch with the stitch marker in it, and then go in the next one with a double crochet. Now I'm just going to keep putting double crochets again in every stitch until I reach the next, sound like Sean Connery, into the next stitch marker. Oh, I don't even know what I'm saying no more. Okay, I'm getting there. Right, I've reached the next stitch marker. So I'm going to chain 1, skip the stitch with the chain marker, skip the stitch with the stitch marker and go in the next stitch with a double crochet. I think really I need to go back to bed and then have a sleep and then try again later. but I don't have enough hours in the day to ever do anything like that. So double crochet again in every stitch until you meet the next stitch marker. I do believe this is my last one. I think it is. How many have I done so far? Yes, 1, 2, 3, and I've got 4 buttons that I'm doing. Right, I'm now at my final stitch marker. So I'm going to chain 1, skip that stitch with the stitch marker in it, actually got it right this time, and put a double crochet in the next stitch. And then from here on out, you're going to put 1 double crochet in every single stitch until you get all the way up and all the way down and back to the opposite side, where you're going to put your final stitch in the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of row 1. And then that's row 2 complete. So I'll meet you back here for row 3. Right, I've just done row 2. I'm a little bit upset because my colour changed right at the very bottom. But there's not a lot I can do about that. It's a little bit annoying, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't know. Not a lot I can do. Never mind. Right, I'm gonna add 1 more row, and it's literally gonna be 1 more row of double crochets. So remember, it's chain 3, turn, double crochet in every single stitch, making sure you put your final double crochet in the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the previous row. And then after that, it's going to be button time. Right, I'm finishing off row 3 and I've now got to my buttonholes. So I just want to let you know, even though I showed you on the swatch, when you get to your chain space, you're just going to put your double crochet inside the chain space and then go back to the regular stitches. 1 double crochet in every stitch until you reach your next chain space, and then you'll put your double crochet in the chain space. Coming up to my next one. I've still got my stitch markers in mine. That's okay. I suppose it's making it sure that I don't just go flying past it. Next chain space, double crochet in there. So yeah, just keep adding your double crochets till you get to your end of your row, and then we're going to do buttons. I always get a little bit ahead of myself, don't I? Okay, so now we have to attach our buttons. Look at that little bit. Oh, you're so naughty. Never mind. Maybe the button might... Oh, actually, yeah. Maybe you might not see it as much because the button's going on. Yeah, you can still see it. Never mind. Okay, so hopefully you wrote down or you remembered your stitch counts for your chain spaces. I've still got these stitch markers in, actually. Could probably take them out, to be fair, but I've kept them in for a little while. So now you're going to need to find a needle that's thick enough for your yarn to go through. I hope mine is. That's also thin enough to go through your buttonholes. That's if you're using yarn to attach them, that is. I'm going to, because I just am, yeah. You can always use cotton thread if you prefer, but I'm just going to use a bit of blue yarn, I think, for mine. So I'm just going to cut a long strand. Try and see if I can get it through here. Fingers crossed. Oh yeah, that's going through, I think. Yeah, that's lovely. Okay, so my first buttonhole is on stitch number 3 on row 2. Okay, so mine's quite easy to see because I've got a different colour for row 2. It's probably a good handy tip, but a bit late now in the tutorial to say it. Never mind. Anyway, you'll be able to work it out from counting from the side stitches there. 1, 2, 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my 3rd stitch. 1, 2, 3, which is there. I'm going to actually come up from the bottom and just poke that through. Ooh, yeah, through the middle of the stitch, anywhere really. It's a bit tricky to see, but I've just poked my needle through. I'm not pulling it all the way through just yet because I'm going to place my button on it. So I'm just wondering actually I might change my mind just to be a pain. I'm going to go in between. So I've got 2 stitches here. 1, 2, and then my 3rd stitch here. I'm going to go in between and I'm going to turn my button so the holes are like this. This might be controversial to some, I'm not sure. I mean, you could keep it to the side and go through the stitch, but I'm going to go over the top of the stitch. I'm going to live life dangerously. So I'm going to find the bottom of the buttonhole. Yeah, there we go, we're through. I'm going to pull this through and I'm going to leave a tail for tying a knot when it's done and weaving in my ends. Now I'm going to go in through the top this time because I'm going over the top of stitch number 3. It's actually quite easy doing it that way. I'm going to go pull it through. I've literally just gone over the top of the stitch. Not to pull it too hard so that I pull the end out that I'm saving. And I'm just going to go over that maybe 2 more times. So coming up through the bottom and then back over the top, making sure I'm going over that stitch, trying to keep my button as straight as possible, but it's not looking too bad, I don't think, actually. And stitch number 3 was a good choice for my button size. I'm going to do it one more time because I'm using a thick yarn. I don't really have to do this too much. Come back over the top one more time, like so, and then I'm going to remove my needle and I'm going to tie a double knot. And I'm not going to do it right now, but I'm going to leave my tails long and then I'm going to weave them in as well, and that will really secure that button in. I've come through the strandlet. Here we go. Right, I'm going to just do a tight double knot. 1. I have a secret confession. I've actually made my daughter a cardi in the past and I've done the double knot and I might have just snipped the ends like here and not weaved them in. Oh, so naughty. So naughty. Never mind. So that is button number 1. I'm just going to have a little look and see what it's like. Take out that stitch marker. There we go. Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? There we go. First button working. Now I know my next button needs to go in 10 stitches from here, in the 10th stitch. So let me get my yarn ready for button number 2 and get it in my needle so I'm prepared. Could always place a stitch marker around the stitch if you prefer, but I'm just going to jump straight in. Okay, second button at the ready. I'm just going to pull this one back slightly so I can see which one to count from. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This one right here. Where's my... Oh, I'm trying to get ready. Like, now I can't find my needle. It's here. It's here. Panic over. I'm going underneath that 10th stitch. It's really hard to see, isn't it? Because once I do that, you can't really see the needle very well. But I've come underneath my 10th stitch. I'm getting my next button. Horizontally, again. Controversial, maybe. And doing exactly the same thing what I've just done. Pulling my yarn through, leaving a long tail so I can knot it, coming in through the top, and I'm going over the top of the 10th stitch. Now you call it a 10th stitch, and just pulling that through. Not too tight that I pull the tail through. I might just pull that a bit there like that. Now I've got to come back through the bottom while trying to keep my button upright and not wonky. Let's go again through the bottom. just holding that button in place, but my thumb is in the way by the feels of things. No, hang on, I'm getting hooked up. Yeah, that's the one. Then coming back over the top. And then I'm going to do it one more time because my yarn's quite thick. And then back over one more time. And I'm going to take my needle out. And then I'm going to secure it in the back with a knot. What have I done? What's happened? Oh, golly gosh. What did I do there? I don't know. Well, either way, I'm going to knot it right now. I did something a little peculiar there. Maybe when we look back, we can see what I just did. I don't even know. So I'm just going to knot this. It's gone over twice at the very least, so that's good enough for me. Told ya, I like to wing these things. So I'm just going to do a little double knot. Only thing with this, it does leave you with quite a few ends, but do you know, once you get on with it, it's not really that bad. There we go. And that's number 2. So I'm just going to repeat this process, counting up because I know I need to count 10 stitches and go around my 10th stitch 2 more times. And then weave my ends in, and then the buttons are done. Right, my buttons are on. I've weaved in all my ends. Do you know what I didn't do? I didn't check that my buttons line up with the buttonholes before weaving all the ends in. So let's just hope upon hope that they do. Otherwise I'm going to cry. Should we just do it together? I know the bottom one lines up because I tried that one already. Just hope I haven't counted any stitches wrong. I mean, I don't think I have. Okay, yes, we're looking all right so far. Oh, yeah. No need to panic. Lovely. There we go then. So, you could technically be done right now. Or you could be like me and add some pockets. Now, it wasn't ever my intention to add pockets to this, but every single time that I've tried it on, my hands have tried to go in pockets that don't actually exist. To me, that's a very big sign that this needs pockets. So if you don't want to add pockets, then well done, you are finished. If you do want to add pockets, then stay tuned. They're coming right up. Okay, so for my pockets, I've decided I'm going to make 2 solid granny squares. You can do lined like rose pockets if you prefer. I'm just going to do granny squares because I like them. So yeah, I'm going to do mine pink and blue. I've picked up a new colour because I quite liked it and my Cardi's busy and I thought, well, let's just continue making it even more busier. So I'm going to alternate every round as well, giving myself loads of ends, but I'm sure it'll be worth it in the end. Hopefully. It better be. So how big you make your pockets is completely up to you. I'm just going to keep making a square, and when I feel like it's big enough, I'm going to use stitch markers to roughly attach it to my Cardi, and then I can test it, see what the depth is like with my hand, and then yeah, put them on. I will obviously let you know what size I make mine to because I actually don't know yet. But as soon as I do know, I will let you know too. So let's start it off. Exactly the same as what we did with the hexagon, but instead we're going to have 4 corners instead of 6. So again, you can start with a magic circle or you can do chain 4, which is what I'm doing. And then coming back to your first chain, put your hook through it and make a slip stitch. Now we're going to be working into the centre of that. wherever it is in there somewhere. I'm sure I'll find it in a moment. I'm also going to crochet over my little tail so that I can then pull the circle tight when I'm done. So chain 3 and put 2 double crochets into the center of the circle. I'm always fingers and thumbs here. I said that at the beginning, I'm sure. Chain 2 and then put 3 double crochets into the circle. We're going to do that 2 more times. Chain 2 and put 3 doubles into the circle. Chain 2 and then put 3 more doubles back into the circle, and you should technically have 4 sets of 3 double crochets. Let me just have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to chain 2 and I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 from the beginning of the round. Now if you're sticking with the same colour, you're going to turn your work and slip stitch back into the corner chain space, and you're now ready for round 2. But I'm changing colour because I just like to torture myself with thousands of ends. So I'm going to fasten off. I'm going to also pull this tight in the middle, like so. My voice is disappearing on me now. Right, round 2. I'm just going to go back into my corner. I've turned my work because I'm turning my work after every round. I'm going to attach my new colour with a slip stitch, chain 3 and put 1 more double crochet back into this corner chain space. Then I'm going to put 1 double crochet in all the stitches, which there's 3. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That brings me to the next corner. I'm going to put 2 doubles in there, and then a chain 2, and then 2 doubles back into my corner. So it's exactly the same as how we worked up the hexagons, but instead of having 6 corners, we now have 4. So put 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to your next corner. And then 2 doubles in the corner, as you probably already know. Chain 2, 2 doubles in the corner, double crochet in every stitch, two double crochets in the corner, chain 2, 2 double crochets in the corner, and then a double crochet in every stitch, got 1 more to go in, and then 2 doubles in the final corner, followed by a chain 2, and then slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 to close the round. So exactly what you've just been doing, but as a granny square instead of a hexagon. So I will meet you back here when you have 2 of these to the size you want them. Right, I now have 2 pockets. Now I've worked mine out and they are about 17 centimetres. Now you can make your pockets as big or as small as you like. I'm making a small cardi, and when I first put these on, I just attached them with some stitch markers just to see what they look like. To begin with, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know, they look a bit big on my cardi because my cardi's quite short. But when I was looking at them, I thought, well, if I go back one round, I feel like my hands aren't going to go in and I'm as comfortable. What's the point in having pockets if you can't put your hands in them? I like this size, so I'm going to go with it. The more I looked at it, the more it grew on me. So, once you've got your 2 pockets, we have now got to place them onto our cardigans. Okay, so now we need to figure out where we're going to put our pockets. Where you put your pockets is completely up to you. The best thing to do is to grab 8 stitch markers and then just place your pockets where you think you might like them to go and just attach them. Try it on and see what you think. Now, because I've kept my cardi quite short, I am literally going to go like directly above my ribbing and against the neckline bit. I'm not going to go on the neckline bit, but the hexagons before the neckline, either side, that's basically where I'm going to be placing my pocket. So kind of like this. Voila! It looks mental, I know, but I like mental. The mental's good. The crazier the better. So that's basically where my pockets are going to end up, roughly. Haha. So, right, another thing I need to say. I have put my pockets on with my stitch markers. I've tried my cardi on. Now, because my cardi is quite short, the only way my hands go comfortably into my pockets is through the sides. Like, I physically couldn't put my hands, well, I could get him in the top, but it weren't natural. It did not look natural. Because my cardi's short, I'm going to have to go in through my sides. Now, if I'd have made a long cardi, I would have gone in through the top because I'd want my pockets to be lower down. So my hands would just slip straight into the top. So attach your pockets with your stitch markers for now to get a feel of where you want them to go and to also decide, do you want your hands to go in the top or in the sides? Now, my tutorial is going to include me doing it for the sides, but basically you're just going to do the same thing for the top. You're just going to be leaving the top open rather than the sides. So it's still going to be very easy to do. So what you need to do now is attach your pockets. Just put a stitch marker in each corner. I'm going to try my best to make sure that they are evenly placed on each side. Luckily, I've changed colours, so I can kind of use that as my guide. But if you haven't, use the centre. If you're near here anyway, use the centre. If you've got a short cardi, use your centre bit of your arm to help guide you. Or just count the rows. You just have to count the rows really, don't you? I'm sure you know what you're doing. I feel like I'm babbling a little bit. So I'm now going to attach my pockets with my stitch markers, and then we are going to, sorry, I've been feeling a bit blocked up. I do apologise. And then after that, I'm going to show you how we're going to sew it on. So yeah. Also, before you attach your pockets, weave your ends in. I've just started attaching mine and was like, bugger. Got to weave my ends in. Right, I've weaved in my ends and I've evenly placed my pockets. I've counted all the stitches that I've gone in and replicated it on the opposite side. It does look a little bit dodgy, but I didn't block my pockets either because I'm super naughty, but whatever. I don't care. If you want to block your pockets, that's fine, but yeah, I'm just going to get on with it. I don't mind it looking a bit rough around the edges. I think it adds to the charm. So, we've now got to seam the pockets. So for this, you are going to have to do a little bit of hand sewing, but honestly, it's really, really not that bad. So you're going to need a needle, a tapestry needle that's hopefully thick enough for your yarn. Basically, the one you've been weaving in is absolutely fine. I am using the same colour yarn that my last round was so that you don't see the stitches. So I'm just going to kind of go round it a few times because it's best to have too much than not enough. Like, you don't want to get round to the end, near the end of your pocket, and then you've run out of yarn, because that would be absolutely horrific. Right, so hopefully you have tried it on and you've decided where your hands are going to go into your pockets. So let's say you've made a long cardi and you're like, yeah, I like my hands to go in the top. Then you can start from either this side or this side. Let's just say this side, for example. What you're going to do is you are going to seam all the way down here. You're going to come all the way across the bottom and you're going to come back up to the opposite side. And that's it. That is all you're going to do. You're going to leave that bit open for your hands to go in. Now, because my cardi's short and my hands just won't go in there comfortably, and what's the point of putting pockets if you can't use them, I am going in through the side. So I am going to have to seam across the top edge, along this side and across the bottom edge, and leave this side open. So let's get to it. Okay, so remember I'm doing sideys. If you're doing toppies, you're going to be starting at one of these top edges and just going down, across, up. It doesn't matter if you start from the top or the bottom, wherever you want to start. I mean, well, for the side, obviously. Not if you're doing a top one. Don't start from the bottom, because then it's going to be a nightmare. But for me, I think I'm going to start from the bottom and come along here, go up here and across here. I've also opened my cardigan because it just makes it easier to get to the back. So, coming up through the back, I'm going to go through my corner chain space. Right, because I've wrapped it around a stitch, I'm going to go right through there, making sure I catch my corner chain space. It's a bit hard to see it. I'm a little bit blurry, but I've just come straight through the bottom. Got quite a long bit of yarn. Where is the end? Here it comes. So I'm going to leave a long tail for securing the end when I'm done. And literally we're just going to like weave along all the stitches and come in and out, in and out. It's going to be really easy once you get into a flow of it. So I'm going to go back in through the bottom. Trying to make sure that I don't catch that little end, because I've done that before. And then pull it tight, but not too tight that you start pulling out your little end that you're going to use to secure at the end. I'm also trying to keep it in line with my stitch markers. So I don't really want to like end up doing it real tight like this. And then I get here and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got loads left and there's a stitch marker. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to bunch it up. I'm just trying to keep it in line with how I've pinned it. So, where are we now? I'm just going to come through the bottom. It's a bit of guesswork really, but it's fine. I'm kind of going through the centre of my stitch now that I'm on the stitch section. I don't know if that's a little bit blurry, but I've come through the centre of the stitch. Just going to pull that through. I'm going to lay it out flat again to make sure I'm not going to bunch it up. Now I'm going to go through the top of the next stitch and go straight back through to the bottom, through the other side. Just got hooked on a button. And then coming back through the top, I'm going to go through the centre of the stitch again. I'm right at the bottom of the camera there, but I've gone through the centre of the stitch as best as I can. There it is. And pull it through. And I'm going to lay it out flat again, so I'm making sure that it's not getting bunched up. And come back down through the centre stitch. And that's all we're going to keep doing. Come back up again. Which one am I on? To be honest, it doesn't matter if you kind of miss a stitch here or there. Oh, as long as you're not planning on putting tiny things in your pocket. I can't really fit like rice. Oh, can you hear my throat? I think I've caught something. Because the kids are at school, maybe. Blame it on that. Always catch something when the kids are at school. Meant to be doing karaoke on Saturday night. Well, that's not going to be very good, is it? Forgot that going on. So there. Literally, just keep doing that. For me, I'm going all the way across the bottom, up the top, and then across here. So I can put my hand in here. Oh, I can feel it forming already. How lovely. So, that's literally all you're going to do. And then you're going to do the exact same thing for... Where's it gone? Oh, because I folded it over. Where's my pocket gone? Here it is. Naughty pocket. Going to do the exact same thing for the opposite side. And then weave in your ends real securely. And then you're done. Ah! I feel like I need to zoom out a bit. It's all a bit crazy. There we go. Yeah. So, I'll meet you here. Probably wearing mine. You get to see how crazy it is with the pockets and everything. So yeah, well done. Yeah, I'll see you in a minute modelling my new Cardi. Here it is, all done. Got my little sidey pockets. Love that, yeah, very happy with it. Got my hood. Feels real nice and lightweight as well because I made mine in DK. So, just want to say a huge thank you for joining me on this tutorial, and I'll see you again very soon with another one.